question is, we have an elephant in the room that we can't blame on the white man, and it's called molestation, right? Why do you believe it's so rampant, and why are we collectively as a people so quiet about it? Because the way I look at it is this, man. It's just like, we speak about generational stuff. I don't think anything is more generational than molestation. Yeah. Because it's very hard for a person who's experiences that to bounce back. It's just the reality of it. They have offsprings, they struggle with their children, they struggle with their relationships. Their children struggle with their offspring and relationships from that activity that took them. And white dudes not raping most of the kids.
So I gotta add a caveat to that question. Are we saying as it relates to, because overall, if you're talking about convictions, it is mostly white males. If you're talking about
black children?
You said specifically
specifically black children, yeah. Specifically black children.
All right.
Okay, yeah, that's what I need to know.
Yeah, specifically black children.
That is granddaddies and uncles and all these uncomfortable.
And teenagers too,
and most of these uncomfortable Thanksgivings we having. And I was talking, on a video previously about younger family members who have experienced that, experimenting on younger cousins, their brothers and sisters, whatever. I've had a student that I didn't know recently. His mom called me, he's like 20 now, but she was like, she got like 6 kids. She's always working or whatever. Then she finds out that the son has given the little sister a STD, and this is just happening at home, and she had no clue, and then she's in like a rock and a hard place because she's like, okay, my son, this is my child, and he has to go to jail. Then I also got to support, my daughter too. Even another situation I talked about previously, one of my students, and these all young kids. And to be honest, I brought the conversation up before about young boys and young men, even with it happening with older women and young boys. I still like have yet to find anybody that's in my regular circle who had been molested growing up. Whether that been by a woman or a man or whatever. And so it's like, we don't talk about it. Or we'll say, oh, that's incestuous white people stuff. I'm like, no, incest happen in the black community every single day. And grandmamas know about it, and uncles and everybody. It's just, we just stay away from Uncle Joe at the family reunion. I don't go around Uncle Joe. Or why ain't we reprimanding Uncle Joe? Why are we just allowing him to be around if we know he say little stuff to the little girls? Or like, why is that normal? Why is it acceptable, in our community? So again, it's like, do we care about protecting our kids, and then, just looking at how many parents went through that, they're almost scared, because of what Uncle Joe did to them and what he said was going to happen to them. So they're just like, I'm going to just keep, my kids away from him and scared to go around. I mean, it's a lot, talking about molestation, but that is a huge issue in our community that we refuse to like truthfully address as much as we address the economics and the hospitals and this and that. I'm like, nah, let's talk about the family dynamic here in our community.
I think that's a big source because people are broken. And we have the system still, but a lot of people are broken because they were violated sexually.
I just think it's because people are afraid to be violent to people.
I agree.
You just got to be violent to people. Violence is an answer for a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? It's not the only answer, but when violence is the answer when it's the answer.
I agree. And
I think violence can be an amazing deterrent. I think that violence is something that if you were thinking about this and you didn't know that this was wrong, I'm talking about even from a children's perspective. If we see Uncle Joe get lit up, get beat up, get harmed, physically violated, that child recognizes a different lesson from that. Like publicly. I'm generally not a fan. Like I don't beat children, right? Me personally, my daughter don't have to, right? Yep. But adults, 100%, there should be some sort of violation. That you posted a video a couple of days ago. This dude ran up on the fruit, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that, man.
And I'm just like, this dude will never do that to anybody ever again. And it's just a good lesson.
Gotta get
it's just a little bit of straightening. And I think it's going to sound like I'm kind of making a justification because I can always tie things back into government involvement in our community and turning it into something that need not be, right? So when you got government overreach into a community, when there was, we got issues in the community, we deal with the issue. When you get more government involvement and people tapping into the government as opposed to the people in the community dealing with it, now even something as simple as reprimanding, and you can leave the children out of it. If we're talking about the adults, right? If we all just beat Uncle Joe up and there's nobody goes to jail because the state said you can't do that, I think we get some of those issues solved. So I'm always a fan of the individual accountability and the individual being held, to the standard. But I'm also not gonna let the government skate out of how they put things in the mix to make sure we're not really handling some of our own issues.
No, great point. In Jamaica, they call it jungle justice. You get what I'm saying? And you want to be reprimanded or held accountable for what you did to that person because they violated the program.
Right.
Yeah. See, and I'll just mention it this way. When it comes to family business and things dealing with our family, it has only perpetuated this long because we haven't addressed it. Okay. So I know, for example, when it comes to certain family members, I've witnessed where a family member was reprimanded or held accountable publicly. Things changed after that. We became nervous because the government got involved, where people started getting arrested. When it's like, well, no, we don't necessarily want this person to get arrested, but we want to handle it, make it, make an example so that everybody else in the community knows not to do this. Okay, cool. But we know once the government gets involved, they are the ultimate, so-called negative side of things. Okay, because now they're going to potentially take somebody away, make money off of them being taken away, really destroy them in prison, and do a whole lot of things that wasn't a part of our original plan. So one thing is we have to take responsibility for our own children, our own women, and the men. In whatever way that needs to be done, it has to happen. We have had so many stop sex trafficking moves that we've done. We held a major rally in Atlanta where we were pushing to stop sex trafficking, stop the abuse of women, children, young boys, young girls, etc. And so many people had no idea that this was at a rate that was so high because it's not being talked about. It's a very real thing. And the other side of it is too many people are benefiting from it outside and inside. So you have women who are involved in pimping these girls, helping to encourage them to go into sex trafficking. You have men who are the old school version of it. But if you want to be very frank and real about it, we can handle what's happening in the present, but we also have to also simultaneously educate about how it came about in the past. So you have to learn about the history of the MFer. What happened to us, how they put a paper bag over the black man's head and forced him to have sex with his own mother to make more studs, more children for the slave master. We have to learn about how they would literally have little boys, little girls dance around each other on the plantation to get them enticed into sexual behavior, sexual activity, and how the slave master would also have bed warmers, little girls, little boys come into his bed to warm the bed. And then of course he'd do whatever he wanted to with them. So that traumatic circumstance does carry down. And scientists have now looked at the fact of something called epigenetics, where it transfers down through the DNA of the people. So there are certain traumatic things that many of us may not have gone through personally, but on our DNA, our ancestors have gone through it, and it affects us to this very day because of what they experienced yesterday. So there are a number of things we have to address, but as far as what's happening in the present, it has to be seen publicly that you need to address this person. No, you can't come around the family until you absolutely atone, apologize. After you get these hands put on you, you're going to get whooped in front of everybody because that's the punishment. We don't want to kill you. We don't want to end your life, but we want to get close enough to where you understand that is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. So again, per capita in the black community, it is something, it's a virus now that has infected a lot of our people. And again, because too many people have either been involved with it themselves, affected by it themselves when they were younger, to where that's why they don't want to really address it, but it has to be done. And then I believe other people will respect us a whole lot more.
And I want to hear what you have to say about this also. We agree that this generation is over-sexualized, and I understand they have more access to porn and other things. But do you think because the molestation is so high, that's playing a role why the children are so over-sexualized?
I think it's a recycling bin logo. It's a chicken or the egg, and it's like this feeds into this and feeds into that and feeds into this. And if you don't have an extreme disease, extreme treatment, if you don't have an extreme stop, it's just going to create, then the person is molested, then they're molested, now they're over-sexualized. It's like almost like we can't deny that the feeling of the sexual feeling feels good. And if a person doesn't understand that because they're young, now they feel good, but it's weird. Now they're over-sexualized, now they over-sexualize somebody else. So we could have a chicken or the egg conversation, but I just think that there are entities and beings that are deliberately doing things to make sure that the recycling bin logo continues. And that's the part that we got had an extreme, treatment for.
Yeah, it's definitely something we have to do something called correction and proper education at the same time. So the things that will be corrected and properly educated. For example, we can't have artists out here promoting sex all day long, knowing that the end result is more than likely diseases, broken homes, perpetuation of trauma, etc. It has to be educated properly and then corrected. We have to make it clear that you will not promote in the house or out of the house things that have literally contributed to the destruction of our people. It has to be put in proper context. So we can't co-sign one person, approve one over here, but then say, well, no, when it comes to the house, I don't like what's going on. Well, what she is saying, what he's saying, what they're saying is literally a product of that. And it's going to create more of that. We have to address the amount of STDs. We have to address the amount of broken families. We have to address the fact that some women let their daughters and encourage their daughters to do the sexual stuff. We have to address the fact that some men encourage the boys to do that. We have to always, from now on, address it head on, again, or else it's going to perpetuate. And really, the government side of this is they're clapping because they want us to take ourselves out through our own pleasures. So they push the STDs out there, many that were created, some, rarely some, that were mutations in nature, but for the vast majority, created, and they want us to perpetuate that so that we can die out because the ultimate agenda is depopulation. So our own traumas are being used for our self-destruction.
You know what that made me think about? Why was Sexy Red invited to a school? Like to this thought process, right? Like then you say, oh, she can't come in here because she smells like weed. So her message and what she was talking about, that's not adult, is not child friendly. Y'all said, yeah, come talk to the kids. Talk to the kids about what? So this is where I mean, like, okay, someone sanctioned from the state said, we are aware of what this person's catalog is. Someone from a school at a school board said, you know what? Bring her on out.
Yeah, and what's the motive?
Right.
What's the motive?